Hi, I'm Tim from Marathon Mates. On this episode, we'll be talking to Kai Luck. Kai is currently getting himself ready to run the New York Marathon in November. On this episode, we'll get to know Kai, we'll hear how he got into running, and understand what his plans are for New York. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the flying runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the 55th episode of the Flying Runner podcast. On this episode, we'll be talking to Kai Luck. Kai will be talking to us about his marathon journey as well as his plans for New York in November. Kai, welcome to our episode.
Thanks very much, Tim. It's a pleasure to join you.
Thanks, Kai. And it would be remiss of me not to introduce our host tonight, our co-host. As always, I'm joined by Tara and by Tony, our marathon mates. And tonight we're bringing back one of our favourites, Lucia Banco. As many of you remember Lucia from episode 28, when we got Lucia on to talk about the Dopey Challenge and Run Disney. And then we've had Lucia back on after her 6-star race in Boston earlier this year. So guys, Tara, Tony, Lucia, welcome back to the show for another week.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome everyone.
And g'day.
So, guys, what have we all been doing over the past week or so? Let me guess, Tony and Tara, you've been recovering from the Gold Coast, I presume. And Lucia, I guess you're getting ready for another run experience shortly.
Well, I've got so Sydney is the main race. Sydney is the next big one, but that's going to be good times, not finished times. So looking forward to that one, running with some friends. But I've got a 10K in 2 weeks and then the City to Surf in August as well. So that should be fun.
Australia's largest fun run.
And it's nearly sold out. City to Surf never sells out. And the only starting group that's left is the last one, is the Orange Wave.
So they start well and truly after the winner crosses the line, yeah?
I think even I start once the winner crosses the finish line.
That sounds like my Boston experience.
And Tony, how is your recovery going from Gold Coast?
Yeah, we just did some walking on the weekend, and I think I'm going to test the calf tomorrow with a bit of a slight run, see how it goes. It's still feeling tight, a lot less painful, obviously, but that's the way calves tend to suck you in. They give you the impression they're fixed well before they are fixed. So, but at this stage, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable. Just had a week off, just ate some salted caramel ice cream. So I'm feeling pretty rested. And City to Surf, that's definitely on my bucket list. I've got to run that one year because it's such an iconic race here in Australia. And I just would love to do it. So, yeah, what are we now? 8 weeks to Sydney, Lucia, roughly, Sydney Marathon. And
yeah, oh God, 8 weeks. Don't scare me.
And then 15 weeks to New York. So Sydney's a bit of a run through for me on the way to New York. So looking forward to making acquaintances with the 7-hour paces because I think we'll just enjoy that run. So.
Yep. And Tara, how's your recovery week been from Gold Coast after the 68.3 kilometres we ran together?
Yeah, look, in all honesty, I know some of you may have heard me talking about Curragh NZ a couple of weeks ago.
That's the black currant extract.
Yep. I have actually been trialing that for the last 2 weeks. And as everybody knows, I have GI issues when I run. Gold Coast, the whole 3 races, 100% normal body functions. And I am so impressed. My recovery coming out of Gold Coast as well, I don't feel like I've even run. I seriously got up the next morning, no pain, no problems, went for a 10K walk. I think it was maybe 8Ks. It was a good walk. And did park run on the weekend at 29 minutes again. Could have gone heaps faster, just didn't even feel it. Like, I'm actually really, really surprised at how well I've pulled up. I'm putting it all down to Kara NZ. So I actually reached out to the guys at Kara NZ, let them know how good it was, and they've given me a promo code. So, Tony, are we good to put that out? Or
Absolutely. I used it last week and ours came today. So can't wait.
Fantastic. So you'll be able to try it and put it through too. So if anyone wants to actually trial Kara NZ, just go onto their website and you can use the discount code of Flying Runner with the RUNR 20, and it gives you 20% off. So I don't normally promote things, but honestly, this stuff is like gold to me for somebody who has major GI issues. And after Boston, I was actually debating whether or not I'm going to keep my running going. Gold Coast has been brilliant. So, yeah.
Well, I might have to try it out.
Yeah,
absolutely. Highly recommend it, Lucia.
So we have reached out to Kara NZ and are looking to get them on to a podcast in the next little while to talk about their product a bit more. It is more than just GI issues that the product apparently deals with. The scientific evidence is also showing recovery, as you're saying, also performance related on the day, lower heart rates as well when running. So it is a bit of a wonder drug, I guess, if we want to call it that. But yeah, we'll hear more later on. But we'll put the Flying Runner podcast discount code up on the website, no doubt, on our social medias as well going forward. So excellent. And no doubt, if those who are following us on social media would have seen that we had a Marathon Mates lunch on Saturday over at Scarborough, which was very nice, I must admit, catching up with Terry Frew and Kay and Jed Mass. So Kay and Terry have been guests on our show before, and of course Sharon, the lovely partner of Tony, who, despite what Tony says, is actually a really nice person who is very lovely and you know, always a smile on her face when we see her when she's running. So
yeah, she's so grateful to be away from me. That's why.
So it was a good little catch up there at Scarborough for the Marathon Mates as well. So it's something we do every once in a while. We share medals, and it was good to see Terry and his comrades and Big Five Marathon medals.
Yeah.
It's a long way to run for such a small medal, that comrades medal, but it means so much.
If you're thinking of doing comrades for the bling, don't. Just go down, just go and get a key ring somewhere, because
it's literally, for those who can see me on the screen, it's like that big. It's the size of probably an Australian 10-cent coin. That's about as big as it is.
I actually joked with Terry when I saw it. I said to him, "Does it feel like you've got like a, grade school medal, for coming first place?" And he goes, "It does actually, and it feels like the same sort of effort that you put in when you're in grade school as well for that medal." So.
So, Kai, before we move on to the news, have you been in any running races or events lately?
My last one was the Great Ocean Road Marathon back in May, which was
that's an
really
ultra.
Good. Yeah, it was 44, and then you had the option. Some people did this. I think it was a 60. So that was good. I got a PB on that course of 3 hours and 15. So I was very pleased, given all the hills. It was substantial. And then the worst part about that probably was the sheets of rain that we experienced. Honestly, I've never been, I haven't seen it rain that heavily full stop, let alone in a running race. I've had the luck of the weather in all my other events, and just to be in the middle of that, there were certainly some moments, I'm sure you've all experienced those in your marathons, where the mind is telling you that it just doesn't want to go on, and you doubt yourself, and you somehow just have to find a way, don't you?
That's it. Yeah, it's there's always something you've got to deal with, and it's part of marathon running. It's what I keep saying to people, is it's about being able to adjust and change plans and adjust to things that are happening around you, and having that strong fortitude to just keep going and keep moving forward no matter what.
100%.
Yep. All right. Well, that's the welcome, guys. Now it's that time of the week where we talk about the news. So rightio. Tony, what's been happening around the world of running for the past few days?
Well, what's been happening is I've got huge amount of pages here, so I'm going to try and condense them down, Tim. So Tim, the news hound, has been onto it again. Jessica Hull is on her way to a medal in Paris, I believe. So she just ran the world record in the 2,000 meter track event in Morocco. And this was just like 5 days, I think, after running an amazing time in Paris in the women's 1500, where she ran the 5th fastest 1500 time ever. So Jess has just exploded this year with some amazing times. So her new world record time for the 2,000 meters, which is quite an unusual event in the world of athletics, so is 5 minutes 19 seconds 0.2, however you say that, beating the old world mark by a full 2 seconds, which was just incredible. Now, there's some real hope that Jess is going to medal, I believe, in Paris. And I was reading some of the stuff online, and some people are saying that she sort of popped out from nowhere and that they should be testing her and all of this. So, but, I believe quite adamantly that Jess has been working hard for probably the last 18 months. And I think that what we're seeing is just the culmination of really good training and quality races that she's been choosing to run in. And now we're seeing the fruits of those labours. So congratulations, Jess Hull. And Australia's going to be cheering for you in the Paris Olympics.
That first kilometre she ran on Saturday in Morocco, 2 minutes 39 for 1 kilometre. It's just phenomenal how quick that is. And then to back it up and run home in whatever that is, 2 minutes, whatever it is, 40 in the last, 2 minutes, whatever it is, 40 in the last kilometre is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
That she was able to do that 5 days after running the 5th fastest 1500 metre time ever.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's incredible, and no doubt, I think she mentioned that she really felt her legs or what have you. So I would believe that would be the case. So on other Paris Olympics news, Bridget Kosgei, the former world marathon record holder, has announced this week that she won't be competing in Paris due to injury. Kosgei's been struggling with injuries in recent times and has recently failed to complete races, including last year's London Marathon. So Sharon Lakidi, who was named as a reserve team member, will now join Paris Jepchiter and Helena Beery on the start line in Paris, representing Kenya in the marathon. So Kenya's just strong, so they could probably put in the first 10 or so people and they'd be all able replacements. So on some less than positive news, Lawrence Chirono, former 2019 Boston Marathon winner, has been banned for 7 years. And one of the world's fastest marathoners, Lawrence, has been banned for 7 years after falsely blaming his wife for his doping violation. If you could get away with it, I probably would too. No, seriously, no, I wouldn't. They're never going to test me. But Boris won the Boston in 2019, was banned and falsely claimed that his wife inadvertently provided him with her medication, which contained a banned stimulant. After a long time, of course, there would have been some toing and froing and backwards and forwards. He basically, no dice, Lawrence. So bad luck. In a statement, the Athletics Integrity Unit said that Chirono was guilty of an additional charge of tampering to mislead the investigations into his positive test for the banned stimulant. Tim, do you want to say that word?
Yeah, I would. Trimetazidine.
That's it. Fantastic. And of course, he had false statements and produced fraudulent medical documents to explain his medical test. So Shirano is the 12th fastest men's marathoner in history and the 7th fastest Kenyan. His race in Boston, April 2022, he came second and clocked a time of 2:07:21. He finished 4th at the Tokyo Olympic Marathon. His PB is 2:03:04, and all of that has been tainted. And he's now out of the sport for 7 years. But his records remain, don't they, Tim? Is that the way
Yeah,
it
they
all
do.
works?
Because they've happened historically and they've only caught him in recent times, blah, blah, blah. Those old ones stand, but they'll
Yeah.
always have a little asterisk next to them. And I wonder how Boston will go after now that he's been found guilty, whether or not they
Yeah.
will try to recover his prize money or even pay whoever came second the prize money a little bit earlier than they did the previous lady back in 2016 or whenever it was. But that one was a real weird one. He said that his wife inadvertently provided him with the medication. When they asked to provide medical records, they wouldn't provide medical records. The Anti-Doping Association had to go to court to try and force the medical provider to provide records. And when they went to the medical provider, eventually with court orders, the medical provider said, we have no record of his wife ever coming to our clinic, let alone ever being prescribed that medication. So
Unbelievable.
he was all the way through it, trying to disrupt and change the course of the investigation. And that's why he's got 7 years. Most drug bans are only 4 years or 2 years. He's got 7 years because he has willfully tried to withhold the information and change the course of the investigation.
And how old is he, Tim?
Good question. He would be, I don't know, in his 30s, I would imagine. So
he may never run again.
No, but he is one of the elites of the sport. So it is good to see one of the elites getting caught.
Yeah. Now, just the last piece of news, Sydney Marathon released their course profile. The 2024 TCS Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS, has released their course profile. It's net downhill of minus 400 meters with elevation gain over the course of 317. And it looks a really interesting course. A lot of people are comparing it to Boston in terms of course profile. Starts with a major downhill, which also includes a rise over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So until 4K, and then it goes 4 to 12, which you've got a set of rolling hills. And then it rises to 18K at Anzac Parade. And then between 18 and 28 is probably the flattest part of the course, but it's rolling all the way through to Driver Avenue. And then you hit Centenary Park, 28 to 38, Centenary Park onto Oxford Street. And once again, we're rolling. I don't think there's a kilometre that's flat in Sydney by the looks of it. And then downhill from Oxford into the Royal Botanic Gardens, then it's this what appears to be a huge rise to 42K. So listeners may have remembered that I had a bit of a crack at Brisbane for that hill at 19K. This one in Sydney looks, oh my God. But then it's like a ski slope to the Opera House. So looking forward to the finish line, no doubt. And I think I'll be rolling down that finish line. But it looks quite a challenging course, and everyone seems to be looking forward to the challenge. Lucia, how different is it this year to last year?
Very, very different. So even with the start, because previous years it started at Nelson's Point, and the initial start area and then the turn you take to go onto the road, it was very, very narrow. How no one has ever stacked it in such a narrow street amazes me. As now the start is at North Sydney, so it's much wider area. Like the street where it starts, it's a lot wider. It will be able to handle the crowd better. The bridge is very deceiving. You think it's flat, but it's not. But the last loop, so basically when you're coming back down Flinders Street, down Oxford, you go into go into Macquarie Street, and then you do a loop of Miss Macquarie's chair. That last uphill, you think, who puts an uphill like that at the end of a marathon? It's a killer. I curse each time I run it, even now. But that downhill at the end, when you're going down to Macquarie Street, you can't beat it. So it's going to be, a lot of people are liking the new course because they've taken out a lot of the ins and outs around Centennial Park, Anzac Parade. It is basically flat, very minor incline. So I figure if I can conquer the hills of Boston, this is nothing.
Tara, does this give you major vibes about Boston and scares you?
Remember, after New York, I'm retiring from marathons.
No, you're not.
No, you won't.
I can't see that happening either,
No.
Tara. But
Next year, I'm doing the GC double, and someone has to do the Mara with me.
Oh, that might have to be me then.
All right, Tim, and that's the news for this week.
Thanks, Tony. Now let's focus on our special guest, Kai. So, Kai, we're just going to ask you a whole series of questions now. We'll go backwards and forwards. How's that sound, mate?
Yeah,
Pretty
perfect.
good? Cool. Well, I'll kick off the first question. So, same question we always ask all of our guests. When did you get into running and why?
Well, I think it started back in high school for me. I was a big fan of the cross-country running then, and I think realised at that point that I had the passion for the endurance sports in particular. I was never a sprinter or that sort of hit style that we see nowadays popularised quite a bit. I love the endurance sports, and I think just really found my thing with running. I've got the long limbs and the lung capacity for it, so it fed into my natural physical strengths. And then I think the mental side of the long distance running, I'm sure all of you and our listeners would resonate with that as well. There's something in that as well, just building that unbreakable mindset. You know that if you complete a couple of marathons, and even in our long runs every week, right, in your daily life, then challenges that might arise really don't seem to be as significant because of what you've managed to do out on a really long race under a lot of pressure and duress. So that resilience and stamina and fortitude really appealed to me too. Then did my first half marathon in 2016, my first full marathon in 2018, and have now done 6. And definitely found my passion in that.
Oh,
Excellent.
good.
So you've done 6 marathons. Which ones have you done, and which ones are your favourite?
I would say the Gold Coast, I'd like to do that again. And Lucia, I may join you for that double next year. You've put that out now. So
Just make it the triple.
Yeah,
the triple, yeah.
Even I have limits. That's saying something.
Look at Tony.
I am thinking of doing the 5 next year before the marathon, but I won't do the half.
That's a double.
Yeah. So I love that. Back in 2018, as I mentioned before, the Great Ocean Road, it was beautiful. I don't know that I appreciated it quite as much in the moment because of the adversity with the weather, and also I really had a rather massive hamstring issue with that. That required a bit of rehab after, and I could really feel the pain of that in the last few kilometers. But I think I just took that opportunity when I was running that to just say, wow, you've got to be grateful for these moments, much like will be the case in New York. You know, it's almost pinch yourself that this whole incredible destination is shut off just for you. And so I think that sticks out in my head too.
Kai, being the 386th Australian to get their 6-star, it's and looking at Lucia, who was the 424th Australian to get the 6-star, is that something that excites you, chasing the 6-star medal?
Yeah, I think for me, I almost cast it as the 4-star for me. The ones that I'm most interested in, New York, that'll be my first of the majors this year. And then I've already got London confirmed for next year. I'm hoping to automatically qualify for Chicago in the time category if I can get my next marathon will be Sunshine Coast in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping to get a PB there and qualify. We'll see. And then the fourth, that is probably my biggest passion, would be Boston, the Marathoners Marathon. I love the episode where you all focused on that. That was amazing, and pinch yourself moment. And to be able to run that course with all the history and tradition, I would be happy to go out on that note.
No, you've still got to then go and do Berlin and Tokyo, which are just as awesome. So
I'd be interested in your thoughts on the one that I'm probably least passionate about is Tokyo, but I don't know, maybe you could convince me otherwise about that.
Yeah, Tokyo was awesome. Loved it, to be honest. And I was a bit apprehensive as well because, the Japanese are quite regimented and strict. I found the bitumen beautiful to run on. I found the crowds not overwhelmingly supportive, but they were there and they were cheering. I think that, Tokyo is certainly a race that I loved. And I'm if given a chance, I'd probably run it again. So I think that's the big thing for me. If I would say that I would do the race again, that means that it was pretty good. I'm not as in love with Berlin as what Tim and Tara potentially are, but I know I'd run Tokyo again for sure.
Yeah, I agree
Berlin.
with Tony.
Yeah.
I probably put Boston last on my list of favourites, to be honest. And look, I'm just being completely honest. Like, I would put Tokyo and Berlin well and truly above Boston for course and support on course and just in general. I didn't actually find Boston to be that spectacular. I mean, as a fast runner like you are, you'll find it completely different to what I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a back of the pack runner, it's really not that
not exciting.
appealing.
Yeah, I would do Boston again,
Yeah.
only because I want to beat Boston as opposed to just surviving Boston, which is the way I look on my Boston run. But during the week, also, one of the things that has come out is that a lot of the travel companies have had their quotas halved for Boston. And so even just that opportunity of going back through a company like the company that we work with, Traveling Fit, is now just all the more harder because with their half,
limited.
with their limited quota, it's going to be 6 stars only, I would imagine, almost. So which is disappointing, but still at Boston, it's their race. They've got the opportunity to do what they want to do with it. So, but I'd run Boston again only because I would want to beat it and I would want to enjoy it more than what I did.
Excellent. So we've mentioned one of our favourites, New York, a few times. Kai, why is New York on your radar, and why are you so looking forward to about New York, and what excites you about the race? Because New York has to be, for me, some of the parts you go through amused me. Like Tony, I don't know if you felt the same. When we went through the Jewish area, they did not care that a marathon was happening. They were going about their daily lives. They were crossing the road, not caring that thousands of runners are coming through. That's one of the things that always sticks in my mind about that race. So why is New York so important for you, Kai?
Yeah, thanks, Lucia. A great question. I think I have a bit of personal history in New York. I'm a lawyer and I got admitted to practice in New York, passed the bar in 2010. And I was lucky to spend a couple of months there then. And it's always just been that place that sets my heart on fire. I haven't been back since 2011. And I think just I'm at a point in my life where I'm looking for that spark. And I think it's going to re-enliven that for me. And it happens to just combine my passion for running as well. So I think it's going to be a really special moment, and just running those streets with the skyscrapers again, just shut off, just for us. I'm going to absolutely pinch myself and cherish every moment of that.
But yeah, I think New York for me was a lot of pinch me moments. Like for me, one of the ones was getting to the start line and hearing the famous Frank Sinatra, New York, New York.
Wow.
But one of my regrets of New York was not getting a Dunkin' Donuts beanie in the start village.
Mine too. Mine too. I threw mine away. Sharon kept hers, and she loves the fact that she's got one and I don't. So
That's right. And Tara and Tim, you guys have to get a Dunkin' Donuts beanie if they're giving them out.
they
Yeah.
are hideous, guys. They are like
That's impressive.
orange and pink,
Yeah.
but I went looking on eBay to try and get one from 2018.
We will get one, or two,
Yeah.
or three, or four.
I'll get
So-
one and send it to you, Lucia.
So, Kai, you've got Lucia and you've got Tony on the line here. What is something you really want to know about New York Marathon that you probably are a little bit worried about or concerned? Here's your opportunity, I guess, to ask a question to guys who've been there before.
Yeah, it's a very good opportunity. One thing that does concern me about it, I'm used to in the marathons I've done, just getting up and going. I've always been fortunate to be very close to the start line, and I like to get cracking from 6 a.m. But obviously with New York, you can be going very late as 9:30, 10 o'clock or later. And so how did you cope with the delays and then the procedure to get out to Staten Island, all the standing around in the cold and the crowds? How was that?
So New York was my second Mara, and I probably underestimated it. So I just went about my normal routine, had my normal muesli bar for breakfast. I was lucky because I went with Traveling Fit, and they actually bring you to the start area in a coach, so we didn't have to worry about ferries and then a bus from the ferry over to the start area. So I did it in 2016, and then we did it like we all had throwaway, like we had sleeping bags, jumpers, you name it, we had it. We didn't need it. We were very, very lucky with the weather, perfect running conditions. Definitely bring throwaway. Practice nutrition for race morning now. So, for instance, wake up at 4 o'clock, have something to eat, and then go back to sleep for a few hours, and then start running a few hours later. And Tara's just laughing at me.
No, this was Boston. Boston because it started at 11:30.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so when it was Boston, I got up at 6. I had a bagel with peanut butter at that time, and then at the start village, I had a banana and my first painkiller for the day. So practice your nutrition early, and see what works in terms of the time, because like when you get to the start, like you have to go through security, but I'm like, I don't care. I had nothing tied, so that bit didn't bother me. And for me, it was soaking it all in, and just if I knew then what I did now, I probably would have planned things differently. So yeah, kind of looking back, I would have practiced, okay, how early do I eat? Like how long am I going to have to wait? That's probably the biggest one for me.
Yeah, and it was our first marathon in New York, so we didn't know any different. We had no training or prep for it, so we were with Traveling Fit. So you're out there very early, and it was like a 2.5 hour, maybe even 3 hours between when we got there and when we ran. So we cut up an old gym mat, a yoga mat, and use that as our seating. And basically, in the village, there is things like bagels and coffee and just about anything your heart desires. So make full use of that, and just know where your toilets are. That was probably my biggest worry, was the toilets, and they're not pretty. I mean, we're in the last wave, which would have been closer to 11:30, I think, when we ran. I'm not sure if that was the time for yourself as well, Lucia, but I know that we sort of kicked off real late. And yeah, you just got to plan in your mind what you're going to do to pass the time, because the other thing you worry about is your phone running out of charge, or those little things. So you can't necessarily sit there and just twiddle the time away by scrolling, because that just wears out your battery. Or headphones. So there's a fair bit going on in your mind, but you just got to be prepared to chill and just take it all in. And it was amazing where we were. You could see the runners running up on Verrazano Bridge on every wave. So I think we saw all waves that particular day. So somehow we got through it, Kai. So I'm sure that pure amateurs like Sharon and I could get through it. I'm sure that you can. Yeah.
No, thank you. That's super helpful.
So you were saying before, Kai, about Great Ocean Road being a really tough mentally for you because it's not the race that you normally would run in. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep going when it does get tough? Do you run with headphones, listen to music? What's your mantra to keep yourself going?
Yeah, I do. I'm definitely a music guy. I like to have that going. And look, just full disclosure, trashy pop. There's really nothing fancy going on there. So I enjoy that. But I think also I don't have a sort of like a motivational mantra or anything, but just I'll say to myself a lot, just be strong, be tough, and don't give up. And then I sort of have this thing, I don't know if any of you can relate. I kind of alternate between zone out and zone in. I find it can be very helpful at times to just focus on your body, your heartbeat, and just try and bring things very internally and stay very calm. But then at the same time, on some of those real killer kilometers as well, I tend to find around the 25, 26 Ks, I have to just almost zone out and just look at the course and try and distract myself from that. And then use that psychological trick of, hey, you know what? I'm just out for, once I sort of hit about 28, I'm out for a 12, 14 kilometer run. I can do that. Anyone can do that. And just to reset psychologically, I think that can help too.
It sounds like me, actually. Between 25 and 30, it's like I completely zone out. They are the worst kilometers for me. And then around 30 Ks, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm back here. Yep. Yeah. And it is. And then I just sort of go, oh, it's only 12 Ks. It's easy. It's not, but, I tell myself it is.
Yeah. Just what does everybody else? I'm so interested in what everyone else does in those moments.
I yell a lot.
Yeah.
And you swear. I noticed. Yes. Yeah, you do swear. Yeah.
Tara had the pleasure of running a half marathon with me, and I was swearing at Tara that day, truth be told. Another friend of ours, Julie, but I've got little quotes I kind of yell out to myself. It's like, oh, who can, I can, I've got this, let's go. Just those little things I find keep me going. And plus I'm like, I've paid for this, I need to finish it.
Yeah, I'm probably a bit like you, Kai. I zone in and zone out depending on where I'm at. I like to do internal checks of the body. Can I wiggle my toes? Can I feel my feet? Can I feel my hips? Are my hips lined up properly? Am I standing up straighter? And I do some of those internal checks as I go. And then I'll zone out for a while as well. And I will literally just focus on a bum or a person up in front of me and just try and catch that or stay a certain distance away from them. It's been hard lately because I've been running with Tara, who zones out quite a lot, so I'll just end up trying to drag her along. But when I do race by myself, that's really what it is. I tend to feed a little bit off the crowd, particularly towards the end of the race, and use the energy from the crowd to keep me going. Just do what you have to do to stay strong. Focus on the kilometer you're in a lot of the time too.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I just try and find joy in what we're doing. So whether it's I'll sing out loud to a song that's playing in my ears, or I'll go looking to high five a kid on the crowd, or something like that, or making a joke to a group of runners around me. So I just try and make those really tough times as enjoyable as possible. And much to the disappointment of Sharon, who, especially when I'm singing out loud, she likes to let me know that that's probably not the right thing to be doing, to enhance the enjoyment of people around me. But you know, at the end of the day, I think everyone gets a bit of a kick out of everyone's own little ways that they operate. So yeah, that's what I sort of try to do. But funnily enough, with Gold Coast on the weekend, I felt myself internalizing a lot more because it was a different race to me than normal, and just really focusing on things like the arm swing, or you know, just thinking about kilometer I'm in, run the kilometer I'm in, and without going too far ahead. And I think that really sort of helped when it was a bit more of a serious run for me than what it normally is. So, so there's some of my little ways, and maybe that's the way I'm going to run Gold Coast every year. Just be a little bit more serious and get those little mantras happening. So
Running's
Look at
not
Tara.
serious. Oh my god! As soon as you take running seriously, I don't want to do it. So sorry. I get what I pay for on my marathon entry fee, so
yeah,
there's no seriousness to me.
Well, absolutely. So Kai, New York's about 15 weeks away, give or take a day or so. But when this episode drops, I think it'll be about 15 weeks. What does your training look like between now and then?
So yeah, I've got Sunshine Coast in 4 weeks. That'll be the full marathon then. And as I mentioned before, I am trying to get a PB for that. So I've definitely been ramping up the intensity for the training. I'm right at the peak of it now. I tend to do around 90 kilometers a week, which is the Saturday long run, between 25 and 32 I like to do. And then a couple of other middle distance runs during the week and some intervals. But I actually also do a lot of cross training work. It's really been a key part of, I think, my longevity. I'm 40 next year, and been relatively.
I wish I was only 40.
That's definitely helped me stay relatively injury free and fresh, and still enjoying running. Saves your joints. So I do a lot of cycling and rowing, and then some strength and conditioning work as well. So it's definitely not all about the running for me. And that's helped me just, increase the lactate threshold and enhance the lung and endurance capacity there. So cross training is a really key part of my program.
So Kai, turning 40 means that you go up an age group, which means all the qualifying times get just a little bit slower. So we'll use it to your advantage.
100%, except the one little thing I noticed about that the other day, just last week, it was announced for Chicago, automatic qualifying times, they're about 10 seconds quicker per age group now. It's actually harder to get in there than Boston.
10 minutes. 10 minutes. Yes.
Pretty substantial.
Yes.
I think they were, this is the innuendo anyway, apparently there was concern because Chicago had been renowned as being one of the easier ones to get into, and they wanted to make it a lot tougher. So now it is.
Not for long, because Boston will go hold my beer and then just drop in qualifying times that are ridiculous. So
yes. Damn them.
What's your goal for New York? Like, are you going to set yourself any time you want to achieve? And have you thought about a plan for the day?
Yeah, definitely. My eventual aim, I'd love to go sub 3 hours for a marathon. That's not going to be this year. I just don't want to have the injury risk. But if I could go sub 3:10 in New York, that would be wonderful. And I think my plan of attack, I am going to try as much as I said I'll be pinching myself to just at the start at least just treat it like any other race. Know that I've done the preparation and the work, because you've got to have done that when you get to the start line, and just trust in that, trust in the process, and go about it like it's any other race.
And so, something I forgot to mention earlier. Have you had to choose if you're doing race poncho yet or not for New?
I think I will go poncho less at this point.
No, choose the poncho because it's the best souvenir you can get. And unless they've changed it too much, you actually get out of the park quicker because previously where you had to go pick your bags, you actually have to walk a bit further past the finish, but the poncho area is before that, and then you can get out of the park. So if you can choose poncho, great souvenir.
That is a good tip. Okay, totally. I'm doing that.
I'm now just trying to think. Did we go poncho? Have we read? Have we done?
We haven't been asked yet. We've done the registration, but we haven't been asked yet.
Go poncho.
Not that I remember.
Yeah, I might have to go into my.
It doesn't bother us, Lucia. We got to hang around and get a little shiny 6-star medal, Tara and I.
Amazing. Are you excited about that? What will that mean for you?
Well, it's obviously the end of Tara's marathon career, apparently.
Apart from the double that I have to run with Lucia next year. Oh, and I have to do Sydney as well because that's going to be a major. So hang on. Oh, I'd have to do Marathon de Mock. So yeah.
And then Amsterdam. Got to do Amsterdam, and then
Big
Paris
5
is up there, and
okay, we're getting closer to my retirement, is what
you'll
it means.
You'll be doing comrades in a couple of years, the way you two are going. So.
No, it'll be the end. It'll be the end of a long journey that started pre-COVID times or during COVID times for us, Kai. So 6-star will be a massive achievement, and we've got Tony coming over and a number of other friends coming over as well to run the race and celebrate it. Coincides with me turning 50 in November this year as well. Wow. So it's sort of a double celebration, get the 6-star and turn 50 all at the same time. So
and it'll be the first time that Sharon and I have seen our names on the new 6-star board. So we're calling it our victory lap, and we just happened to be there to celebrate Tim and Tara getting their 6-star. And I think the third, which is the third reason, way down the list, of course, is Tim's 50th birthday.
I go up another age group, so that's a good thing.
Oh, that's funny. So what is your plans for after New York, I guess? I mean, you want to do your stars, or you want to do London. I know you've got London next up. Is that'll be the next one after New York? Is that right?
I've got actually so to finish up this year, I'm doing the GC50.
Oh yes, that's a great race. Yeah,
we'll be there.
Yep.
Oh great. Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Are you doing the 50 or the 21?
Doing the 50.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm only doing the 21. I've learnt my lesson on that race, so just the 21 for that one. So, yep.
Well, that's fine. We'll see you after for a smoothie.
Yes.
You'll still finish your 50 before I finish my 21, so it's okay.
Oh, I don't know about that. But that'll be wonderful. Back in my climate, I'm not a cold person. I really love the heat and used to doing my training in the heat living here in Brisbane. So on that point, actually, I did the Sydney Marathon last year, and I love the heat. That really worked to my conditions. Lucia is shaking her head.
That was brutal day.
It was brutal. And then London will be the first marathon for next year. I'm hoping Chicago, and I've also got Cairns that I'll definitely be doing next year, which I'm really excited about too.
Nice. Yep. Excellent.
Are there runners or people out there in general, I suppose, that inspire you to keep running, Kai?
Yeah, I guess tying into a little bit of Boston and why I love the history of that event. Des Linden is a big one for me, and what she did 2018 in winning that in the most atrocious conditions. I've got her book for any of our listeners. I can highly recommend that. Just incredible to read through her journey and the sorts of challenges she overcame, injuries, and falling completely out of love with running for a long time. And another one is Meb Keflezighi, another huge inspiration, and his book as well is also out. So I love a good read, and some of those are just incredibly motivational, what they've done.
former Boston winner. He was also ran it this year in Boston again after, I think, 10 or 15 years after he won the race. So
Wow.
running for charity. So it was all over the local media when we were in Boston this year.
And I actually got to meet Des when I was in Boston this year. I was very lucky. Came upon her at the Fan Fest. Saw a queue. I'm like, oh, why are people queuing? Saw she was there. Popped in the queue. Lovely, lovely lady. Lovely.
Oh, amazing.
Now this
that
one,
2018 event was is a memorable one. You got Desi winning the women's event and Yuki Kaoichi winning the men's event, and both of them just did phenomenal races where they really just powered through it, and they were mentally strong on the day compared to everyone else. So yeah, highly recommend anyone go and watch the YouTube highlights of the 2018 Boston Marathon.
Incredible.
Now,
Yeah.
we're all believers in celebrating our success with marathon, and we all do it differently. So very keen to hear, what are your plans? Like, how are you going to celebrate running New York?
I think, look, I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. So for me, I do see maybe a red velvet cake, a piece of that from Magnolia Bakery. Could be on the cards. And otherwise, I think, to be honest, I'm just really looking forward to the day after, just getting up and being able to walk the streets again. I've got a couple of days there that I'm taking before coming back, and just that's my favorite thing in New York, just getting lost in the humanity of the streets. And you really don't need to plan too much. You find a really amazing day just setting out and stumbling across so many things happening, museums, the galleries. But yeah, there'll definitely be a few little food treats in there, I would say.
Aren't you going to have your picture put up on a billboard? Because I heard you can do that in New York.
Well, I loved yours. Yours was pretty spectacular, Lucia.
Yes. No, we're doing the same. I guess the only other issue for us is the days after Boston is the US elections. So being in New York at that time is going to be quite exciting, but at the same time quite challenging from an outsider looking in as to what it's all about, I guess. So it'll be quite interesting. And then I guess what's happened this week with Donald Trump, it's going to be quite interesting as well from a security point of view, what's happening around the city. So we're the same. We fly out on the Wednesday after the marathon, and we'll be very cautious, I think, but looking forward to being lost in the city and really enjoying ourselves. Yep. So thanks again, Kai, for joining us. So now there's one segment that we hand over to Tony when we have guests on. It's what we call our Fast Six. And I'm going to hand over to Tony now, who will explain the Fast Six, and we'll go from there. Over to you, Tony.
There's not really much to explain, Kai. I asked 6 quick questions and I want 6 quick answers, right? So first thing that pops into your head is normally the way to go, and expect to hear a little bit of cheering if you choose the right answers in Tim and Tara's point of view. So, all right. So first question, are you ready, Kai? Are you ready to go?
I am ready.
Okay. Podcasts or music?
Definitely music.
Best running advice ever given to you?
Train like a champion, rest like a champion.
What advice would you give to someone starting out?
One step at a time, stay in your own lane and work out what works for you, for your body and your mind.
Great. Uphill or downhill?
Uphill.
Yeah.
See, I told you. I warned you.
Well, I got the cheer, but then the distasteful look from Tara. So,
gels or blocks?
Blocks, big time.
Favorite shoes to run in?
I am a big fan of the Adidas Adizero Pro 3.
Wow.
First time
world record shoe.
Yeah,
world record shoe, that one.
It's great. It's got the stability. I was finding the Nike just was not working for me with the instability.
Yeah, it's interesting with the super shoes, and I ran in the Endorphin Pro 3 at Gold Coast, and every time I put those shoes on as part of training runs, I'd get a PB. So I don't know how much of that was up in my mind or how much was the actual shoe generating that additional spring. So I find them fascinating. So,
Yeah.
but going into a new training block with Sharon, I probably won't need a carbon plate. So,
So Kai, on this show, we don't really focus on times, but can I ask you what your fastest marathon time is at the moment?
So at the moment, that was the 3 hours and 15 for Great Ocean Road.
Nice. And that's pretty
44.
impressive because that's a 44-kilometer and hilly and raining. So I'm impressed. Okay.
No, thank you, Tara. No, but I like, one of the things I love about your show though is that it's not about time, and you just encourage everyone, like I said before, to stay in your lane. And we're all here because we love running and because we meet other runners. And it's been an absolute pleasure to meet all of you and to come on your show.
Oh, that's awesome. Excellent.
it is, and I think it's a real. I suppose it's a real image of the running community that we know, and we know some pretty quick runners, and we know some pretty back of the pack party runners, and we all seem to just enjoy running. And time, you never segregate people by time. So,
Yeah.
and I think that I think it's a real good picture, image, vision for the show having you on here today, because it just really does highlight that we're all here to help and encourage each other. So awesome.
Absolutely.
So on that note, we normally end with my tip. So
Sorry,
Tony,
I
you're
missed
meant to
my
lead
cue.
me in.
Yeah, sorry. So before we finish up, we always get a tip from Tim, of course. So Tim, what's your tip for the week?
All right. Thanks, Tony. I wasn't expecting the tip, but thank you.
So professional.
So my tip this week is to get to know other people. We hadn't met Kai before. It's Kai, you've come to us, reached out to us, introduced yourself to us. You're a friend of Lucia and have been running with Lucia in the past. So my tip to people is to get to know other people out there that are runners. Runners are generally good people. They're happy people. They're friendly people. I haven't met a bad runner really out there at the moment, ever. But get to know them. Go for runs with new people. Experience, what it's like running with other people in different places. But say hi to other runners when you're out on your training run. We've said this before. It makes it friendlier. It makes it a bit more safer. If you get to know other runners in the running world around where you're training, they can give you, advice if there's unsafe situations occurring up in front of where you're running. So my tip is to make friends with people. We're all friendly. We're all happy. And as you can see, Kai's now one of our friends. So we'll no doubt try and catch up with Kai over the next couple of weeks before we fly out later on to Chicago and then New York, and we'll try and catch
And we'll
up with
see him
Kai
at Sunny
beforehand.
Coast.
And we'll see him in Sunny Coast as he zips
great.
past us on his third loop while we're on our first loop. So doing the half. So yeah, that's my tip this week is reach out, say good day to people and make new friends in the running world, because runners are really nice people. So that is it. We're about to end the episode, but before we do that, Tara, what is on next week?
Alrighty, so we've run and done the Gold Coast.
Sorry, before we talk about next week, we may have a bit of a surprise guest from the IMF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right.
So whatever Tara was about to say may not happen, but go ahead and say it, Tara.
That's pretty normal anyway in my world. So whatever happens. Like really, we might be focusing on what is coming up for Team Alice and Tony, but we may not be. Stay tuned. I have no idea actually what we will be doing next week now. So
So we may have Jai Strugnall from the Indigenous Marathon Foundation joining us. She was a young Indigenous mum who was really quite emotional. First time she was out of Australia without her daughter, I believe. She ran Tokyo, and she'd previously run. Tokyo was her international marathon because they couldn't do New York during COVID. So fascinating story, amazing story, and she's right to go next Monday. Sorry for the late notice, guys, but
That's all right.
you know how I work, so looking forward to that one.
That
And
must be
there's
next week.
the flying runner professionalism yet again.
And I call it agility. How's that?
Yeah,
Hang
the
on,
ability to.
I don't
the
even read the script notes first, so you know.
It's the
I
ability
read everything.
It's the ability as marathoners to change and to keep on adapting and keep moving forward. And that's exactly what's just happened there. So thank you, Tony, and thank you, Tara. So that wraps up our episode tonight. Before we finish up, I want to thank Kai. You've been an absolute champion for joining us tonight. Thank you very much. We can't wait to follow your journey over the next few months and to catch up with you before New York and possibly in New York as well. We'd love to catch up with you there and see how you went. We all wish you the very best in the lead up to the big day. But in the meantime, do you have a Strava or social media account you'd like to share? Or if you don't want to, you don't have to, with our listeners.
Yeah, I've got my. I don't do Strava, but I am on Instagram, Kai Adam 85. So definitely look me up. I'd love to connect with all you great people.
There you go. Well, if you do want to connect, there it is, Kai Adam at 85 at Instagram. So there you go. And I'd also like to thank our special co-host, Lucia, in joining us on this episode. Thank you again, Lucia, for joining us and for the introduction with Kai as well. And
very
said this
professional,
before.
Lucia, by the way. So you'll have to come on and teach us a thing or two, I think. So come on more often.
I've learnt from the best, but you know, always happy to come on.
Yes, so we will.
Get sacked, aren't I?
Sorry?
I'm about to get sacked, aren't I?
You've done your 1 year, Tara.
See ya.
There's no redundancy package, Tara.
Yeah. Yeah, she
That
knows
was
what
a
our
long
budget's.
probation period.
So as we are saying, we'd like to get Lucia on a little bit more frequently. So stay tuned to future episodes where you'll see Lucia jump in and join us from time to time and probably a little bit more frequently. So if you like this episode or you just like the podcast itself, we would really appreciate some comments. So definitely like the episode, leave a comment because it really helps with the algorithms. Maybe you want to wish Kai good luck in New York as well. So please make some comments there. We'll come onto our social media channels and do the same. As usual, video of this episode will be available on Spotify and on YouTube, and audio will be available on Apple, Amazon, and wherever else you get a good podcast from. Remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Flying Runner. Until then, happy running.
Happy running.
Happy running.